the last slide that we have today is just to show to our students how to find out that there's a mortgage, on the land registry. So you will obtain so-called official copies, and in the proprietorship register, there may be mentioned about a legal charge and limit on disposition. So that's basically similar to what we talked about co-owners, if you remember. If there's a co-ownership as the tenants in common, then there will be this restriction, no disposition by the sole owner, so you need consent of the second person, so to protect the rights of that person. So similar, I think it's with a mortgage. So it's very likely that it should be mentioned as a restriction, but not always, right?
In the vast majority of cases for institutional lenders, so like the big banks and building societies, their mortgage deed actually has a standard form that has already been registered in advance with the land registry. This is something I found out. I was quite surprised. I didn't apply one time to register a restriction, but it was registered automatically. And it's because the lenders have an MD reference on all of their deeds, their mortgage deeds. And the land registry knows to enter a particular restriction for that mortgage lender. So in almost all cases, you will see a restriction to protect a mortgage. You could potentially have a private mortgage, and then it would be down to the individual who'd actually lent the money to register the restriction. So maybe there wouldn't be one, but in almost all cases, you will see one if there's a mortgage.
Yeah, but it's better to register that. That basically brings the notice
absolutely.
to any potential purchaser that you need to obtain consent. But in any way, even if it's not mentioned that usual deeds would have this limitation on sale, on change of use, on many other things that may have negative impact on the property. So mortgagee tries to preserve the property as well. And finally, it will be mentioned in the charges register. So you can see it here or here on this official copies. So that's it for today. If it was difficult, don't worry. It's supposed to be difficult. But actually, as you move on, when you consider when we consider more and more, on the next lectures, and when we turn into practical element of that, I'm sure it will be much easier to understand. What do you think, Ollie? Because there's
absolutely, it's very difficult to look at these things in isolation as sort of abstract concepts. It becomes surprisingly a lot easier when you start to look at practice and you see how they're applied, because then you have a bit more context. You have some kind of reference for how these things work. Exactly.
So don't be disappointed if that is difficult. And see you on the next lecture. You can, just to remind that you can ask questions in the chat of next lecture event if you have any questions.